Hello, my name is Margie Raper, and I'm going to talk to you today about theme development and going beyond. Once you have that theme phrase, how do you bring it into the book? I'm an advisor in North Texas, and I'm excited to talk to you today. Just to review a little, what is the theme of your book and why is it so important? Well, it's the story of the year. It's where you communicate to your audience the uniqueness of the year. You show the personality of your school. But for the yearbook staff, it really unifies the concept. And you do that through the visual and verbal elements, word choices, images, and design. Theme is also so important because it's all about the branding of your school. It's the branding of your message. It's the branding of the year. And just understanding that and being able to deliver that kind of message is something you see in your everyday life in advertisements. And it's something that you can carry into other classes. It's a skill that you can bring into your college work and your future career choices and whatever pathway lies ahead of you. But to get started on theme, once you have that theme phrase, we're going to concentrate on, now that we have it, what strategies can we do to bring it throughout the entire book? I think the first thing you really have to do is make sure that theme is solid. Make sure it's meaningful and personal to your school. So we're going to test that by coming up with a focus statement. Now, I think a lot of times when we develop our theme, we think about the theme copy. And the theme copy is those opening stories that we put in the book that really deliver the message and the concept through the events that happen in our school. But a focus statement is for the yearbook staff. It's something the yearbook staff writes for itself. And it's a way that the editors and the staff can communicate and everybody get on the same page of what this book is, what's the meaning behind it, what's the message we're trying to deliver. So we're going to use the example of the Highland Park yearbook Through These Arches, their theme of Through These Arches, because they were playing off the architectural structure of the entrance of their school and what meaning those had for them. So I love this little bit they put in the focus statement. This structure that stands in the front and student entrances of the school meant more to us than just architecture. These arches are where we meet our best friends, where we support our outstanding athletes and scholars, where we have grown into adults. Once you have that phrase that you feel is strong, the real work begins. It feels like it took you so much to get to here, but now you've got a decision made. Now let's just saturate it with ideas. So tons and tons of brainstorming. Break down every single word in that theme phrase. Really investigate. Use dictionaries and thesauruses and idiom dictionaries and anything you can do to help come up with phrases. And really think about the meaning, the message behind that theme concept and the stories you're trying to tell. So you can see tons and tons of brainstorming. Everybody on staff collaborating, 10 to 15 ideas. And once you have this huge list of ideas, now let's break them down. Let's really examine them piece by piece, word by word, and find the ones that really have some ground to them, that maybe inspire storytelling or maybe inspire design. So for example, in the Highland Park book, they talked about the front entrance of the school versus the student entrance of the school and how it was almost like going to your friend's house. Are you comfortable enough to go through the side door, or you only go through the front door? And then they even looked at the actual structure of an arch and learned the vocabulary of what it took to make an arch. And they learned words like keystone and foundation and structure and the brick pattern in it. And so all of this became more things they could examine for their content. And then once they had that concept really strong and they had a lot of solid ideas with it, they made some goals. And those verbal goals came from, they wanted to tell these amazing hidden stories. They wanted some new perspectives on the traditional stories, but they really wanted to see how they could cover change and transition in their school. The visual goals, this is a very traditional school, very traditional looking structure, but they wanted that wow factor with some fresh design. So then this is where that design goals and verbal goals, the storytelling goals start coming together. And you start thinking about the concept modules and the coverage modules. So coverage modules, we're going to use like our Jostens resources, and they have tons of resources on what module formats there are, like bio boxes step by step. And then the concept modules that came about from the brainstorming, the idea of the arch, the idea of brick by brick, set in stone. These were all verbal spin-offs that came from the brainstorming. You can see here what the Highland Park students did. They did a lot of cutting and pasting out of magazines. They started creating mood boards in their classrooms. They really took a lot of photos of the arches just to examine them and have them front and center to them when they were having all their planning. They even looked at architecture around the city of Dallas that they were in to see if there was any inspiration to come from there. And then they started even experimenting. They thought about photo ideas and they were testing them in the classroom or finding other opportunities to find arches in infographics and in other advertisement or in other magazines. And again, saturating with ideas, tons and tons of ideas. And then when they started finding things they really liked and they really wanted to go for, they experimented with it. When it came to their font choices, they really tested out all the different faces of it. They found some ideas for photography. They actually tested them out and see if they could make it work for the book. That helped them get closer and closer to the decision making of what this visual brand was going to look like. They found their color choices, and then they found the font Gilroy, which provided that perfect arch. But then it became, how do we use this? So you can see the different spin-offs. They didn't go with just the first idea. They tried variation after variation, playing with colors, playing with ideas. And then they circled back to the concept and the coverage ideas. And they found from all their inspiration what visually called to them about brick by brick or set in stone, what worked best as a quote collection or an infographic or a photo story. And this is what they settled on. You can see that perfect arch that comes through. There's that brick pattern. So again, does it have that wow factor they wanted? Did it have that visual connection they needed? So this was their brand statement. And then you can see how they bring it into the book, that opening copy of Meet Me at the Arches. And of course, visual verbal connection. We've got to see that arch. If you're going to talk about the arch, we need to see that arch. And remember, they're practicing photography in the classroom. Well, that made their photographers ready. When they saw an opportunity out when they were shooting, they grabbed it. And of course, the expectation is we've got to see it. We have to see those arches and what makes it what it is. But the little details are what important, those little tastes of the theme in subtle little ways, like the initial story starter for their body copy. You see the little brick pattern there. The compare and contrast. They realized a Venn diagram actually made an arch. So it was a clever little way to bring that in. The infographic, you see the arch element that creates the infographic. But they really remember they wanted to tell these personal perspective stories. And so there's where that shade of you and their photography test came in. One of their whole book links, these are all some whole book links here. Set in stone is your traditional kind of stories. Your meeting points are all about different perspectives in the same place. And then the foundations are those things that really bring everything together. There's lots of great resources that Jostens has for you in Yearbook Avenue. They are wonderful things to use with your staff. Also, one of my favorite sites that I absolutely love to use is the 160/90 Brand Developing and the University of Virginia Branding Guide. Again, these are resources that advisors, you might want to vet out first before you provide to your students. But thank you guys so much for your time. Have a good day.